Well, this morning we're here with Cory Duncan. I've had the honor and pleasure of knowing Cory for quite a while now.
For a while.
We were introduced for the same guy that actually does our social media with Cowboy Content. And got to work with you side by side. Excited to see where you're headed with the company. And
for sure.
Cory owns a company in town called Haus Realty. Cory's the broker within the company, and got a good team on his side. And if you're not following Cory on Instagram, Cory is probably one of the funniest people within the Waco
Follow
market.
that.
For sure.
Follow that at hausrealty.co. I'll say it 3 or 4 times, so you don't have to write it down the first time.
Yeah. Super funny. And I want to have Cory on and then get to know Cory and then just get to know your background, how you got into real estate.
For sure.
And Cory's making a mark here in Waco, and it's fun to see.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Yeah. Both literally and figuratively in some sense, as we will see, right? Like we were talking about the pressure washing thing. So cool, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's a long time coming. Whenever of course, in the real estate field, I have sellers who are wanting to sell and build, right? And so, you're always a go-to. You've established this reputation as not only skilled, but there's something in that being honest and trustworthy and dependable. And I do think that's where our brands overlap in that way. Our front-facing brand in the way that we produce content and I do try to take a comical angle at times, or a little bit outrageous at times, but try to keep it within the realm of decent, you know what I mean? But I appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited.
Got to work with Cory on various projects, and fun to work with, fun to partner with, and
for sure.
So Cory, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate? Where it started.
For sure.
You're years in now. You got a good team, and so what sparked your interest in real estate? And what's your background? I know you've always been into business and starting new businesses, and so
for sure.
I'd love to hear where you started and how that had come about.
So I am Waco born and raised, okay? So there was a guy here by the name of Paul J. Meyer. He was a very influential businessman in Waco, and I just so happened to have the privilege that my mom was his CPA for 31 years before he passed in 2009. And so when I was growing up, he was... Man, he did so many things. One of the biggest things he was known for was Success Motivation Institute, SMI, or International, and kind of changed. But he produced motivational programs and team coaching and kind of a leader in that, authoring that self-improvement industry, right? And so you can see how this guy could be a motivator, right? I had the privilege of growing up with him as a mentor. And so, as crazy as it sounds, when I was about 13 years old, 13 or 14, I just straight asked him, I said, if you were me, you know me well enough by now, if you were me, what would you do as a career? And his answer was real estate. It was quick, and that was the decision for me.
At 13?
At 13. And at that time I decided... Okay, well, I really like the University of Texas. Okay, I went to Baylor for my MBA, so all my Waco fans don't shut
the podcast off yet.
Okay, but I was like, I'm going to go the Macomb School of Business and go the real estate finance route, and that's what I did. And so that got me started in the direction, right? That's how it sparked, and then. 2007, I got my license, my salesperson license. 4 years later, I got my broker's license. And so all told, we're talking, 17 years here. And
Crazy.
So, man, just been growing the business, different aspects, development, investment, and then, of course, brokerage, helping people buy and sell houses and commercial property.
Crazy. It goes so fast.
Yeah, it goes too fast, man.
2007. And so 2007, and I also grew up in Waco, born and raised. in the Waco market, and I talk with clients all the time. They call and they say, "Hey, we're looking to build a house. What are we looking for in Waco?" And I was like, "You just look. You'd be lucky to find a property in Waco right now.
Yeah.
It's there, but there's a little more digging than when you started in 2007.
Oh, man.
Not only did you start in 2007, you started when the economy was tanking.
Dude,
that was
crazy.
An awful time to start a company, but you started it. You're bold enough to start that, and then." Yeah. So how do you leverage the Waco market? Then, what's that look like now? And then even then, just like the changes in the market. Because I know in 2007, but even prior to 2007, even up till 2018, 2019, Waco wasn't known for a ton. You've got Magnolia, and so things have changed. But
for sure.
Like, how's that changed over the last 17 years?
Yeah, so let's address the timing first, right? Mm-hmm. So I was actually I went to the University of Texas fall 2005. I was actually, still in college when I got my license, and so started in Austin for a while. But 2008 rolled around, and it's funny because you'll hear this theme of people thinking, man, that was an awful time to get into real estate. Well, I'll tell you, and people have had that sentiment recently. And I'll tell you that I completely disagree.
Interesting.
I think that if you start when the market is tough, you get to learn the things that you need to do. And as long as you can survive, it really is a matter of survival in any business, in any market. It's a matter of survival for your first couple of years. And there's so much learning. So if you can survive a market like the Great Recession of 2008 and all the way through, 2009, 10, 11. If you can survive there and then eventually learn to thrive, you will truly succeed and truly thrive when the market turns around. And we've seen that over and over. And so, I try to tell people when we talk about the market, you want a realtor who knows the market and understands how things work and how things move, because at any point in time, there is almost never a time when nothing is transacting, right? So hot market, cold market, up, down, sideways, whatever the market is doing, as long as you are knowledgeable about your market and your, and the flow of inventory and how all the microeconomic and macroeconomic things affect the transactions, then you will be a great realtor. You will be a great builder. You will be great in your business, because again, there are hardly any times that no business is transacting.
That's good.
So that's kind of the thing that we've taken in the best interest of our clients. It's like,
that's awesome.
We know the current market in and out. We're in it. We're researching about it, constantly learning, so that when you need to make a move, we make that move.
You're in it, man.
We're ready.
So it sounds like, 2007 really kind of created just a strong foundation. You knew if you could make it there, it was gonna make you stronger, build a good brand.
That's it. So you learn that the grind and the hustle, and you learn what people will and won't do. And in a good way. And I think that's something that I communicate to all of my agents. I think that's something that we put in the culture, to be this hustler that will do the things that other agents just simply won't do. It's not that they don't know how to do it or that they should do it. But they just won't do it. I don't know. I don't want to
And that's just staying up late. I mean, it's showing when others are eating dinner. I mean, it's there's always ahead.
Those things. But of course, there's that work-life balance. I think the biggest deal too is if a client says they want to buy in this condo tower and there are no units available, the vast majority of realtors are going to be like, I searched the MLS.
Hey, there's nothing
there.
Right.
And, contrarily, we sit down at a desk. We see that there's nothing there. We communicate that to the client and say, but just hang on. We're going to go to our desk and wear our fingers out writing letters to every owner of that condo tower. And this is a true story. Happened recently. And it wasn't long. We had a seller call, or property owner call, and say, I'm really not using this condo, and I've been considering selling. And that was it. We made a deal.
It's one of our mutual friends. I believe
exactly.
I've heard the same story.
Yeah. And that's just that. It's just evident of the types of things. It's not, hey, we write letters. Nobody else writes letters. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's that next level hustle, the grind, feet on the street that people,
just willing to do. And And I've known too. I mean, I've been involved. You brought me over some renovations and got some of our opinions on these projects.
For sure.
And I know even firsthand that you've knocked on doors.
For sure.
And just said, hey, are you looking to sell your one?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the client says, oh, sure, we would consider it. Make me an offer. And then you close on a house that, and you've helped that client out because they were in a need to sell.
That's right.
Come to find out.
Yep.
And so
persistence.
Just
persistence,
staying
and
with
consistency. And that goes across all facets of our business. It's like because we know that we are acting in the best interests of our clients, and because we know that we are acting consistently with honesty and integrity, and we're doing business the right way, then it's easy to be persistent. Because it's like when you're doing the right thing, it's easy to keep doing it.
Right.
It's like, hey, I know I've called your phone 6 times in the last week, but I promise it's for you. You know what I mean? And we benefit too, and I think that's the best way to transact business.
Well, you've got to have business in order to keep your other realtors involved.
That's right.
Keep them employed. And,
Yep.
And so so 2007 to now you've got a large team here in the Waco area that are heavily involved in the real estate market. And so what are some of the advantages in today's market? Opportunities and advantages. What are some of the things that play into that?
So
in Waco,
currently Waco and Texas wide, we have hit the largest housing inventory since 2020, and there was something going on in 2020. I don't know if you heard. It's called COVID, so people weren't.
I think so.
It affected a few people. So So being the largest inventory, housing inventory in Waco, it's like now buyers are getting a chance where they haven't been super familiar with that. This type of market in the past few years. Now they're getting a chance to have a few more options.
Gotcha.
And to have a little more leverage in negotiation. And that doesn't, mean that it's the wrong time to sell by any means. I mean, the right marketing and approach and the right pricing, you will sell your house. But it just gives some other opportunities. It opens some opportunities up. We've got some multi-property, large portfolio property owners that are selling, and they're okay taking a discount because they need, they're okay taking an 85% of value deal, because then they need that cash, because they're going to go turn it into, they have another deal that's going to return them 30% a year. So they're like, we'll take a 15% discount on these, these homes.
Right.
And so by seeing that a lot more, it presents a lot of opportunities for buyers, investors, to come into the market and find that deal. Man, that's awesome. It's crazy. I mean, you're right. And do it with COVID. I mean, there were people flocking here from different states. We saw a lot from the West Coast. Still seeing a lot from the West Coast. Maybe the other parts, but that seems to be the big one for Vaughn Construction is people moving in. The cost of living is cheaper. Whether you're looking at the cost or politics, whatever it is, you're seeing more people down in Texas, Tennessee. And I heard from a local friend the other day. He said that the Waco market was still so far behind the actual housing market for the population that we have here. And so what are you seeing in population-wise, people moving to Waco? I mean, are there like numbers and statistics that show like per month, per year, like what we've seen over year? There's been a little bit of a fluctuation. I will talk to Waco being, I don't like to use the word behind. I would say Waco is what's the right? I mean, it's strong. It's persistent. It often is kind of the last to be impacted truly by some of the bigger factors. So you're, don't like quote me on this for 30 years in the future, but you almost never see Waco as one of the like top impacted cities on home prices falling or anything like that. I mean,
that's right.
The median median sales price in August 2024 over 2023 was still up something like 3.8%.
Wow.
Okay, so we're still having that strong growth, and it comes
still growing.
That's right. It comes from that foundation that, like you said, we are still attracting. I know you see it. I know I see it. We're attracting out-of-state clients, moving here, expanding the population. Listen, if you live in California, and you live 50 minutes outside of a major metropolitan area like San Diego, right? 50 minutes plus your commute once you get in there, plus the traffic, it's not unusual for you to travel an hour 15 minutes to just go do something in the metro area, right?
Yeah.
So if you see Waco here, 100 miles from Austin, 100 miles from Dallas, yet we still have a lot of those like fundamental, those fundamental features and attractions that you can have as a family. So you can move here. If you want the big city stuff, it's 100 miles away, which,
that's exactly.
Jump on 35.
You're closed in between two large cities. You get Dallas and Austin, two large
miles
cities
away from each of them.
Very well known.
Yep.
We've heard recently that Austin was kind of the new, is the new West Coast California or Los Angeles, little old Austin. But you're in between it. And so with that 3%, are you seeing some of those two cities really close in on Waco?
Yeah, I mean,
your clients, where are they coming from?
I think you see more of that when you drive I-35.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When I was making that trip from UT to Waco, too often. I didn't want to do my laundry. Mom
was available.
It's 100 miles, right? It's like, let's just jump in the truck. And so when I was making that trip, there was much less development, kind of the infill. Austin, Georgetown, Salado, Belton, Temple, even Lorena, and some places that we kind of consider Greater Waco. Since then, that's been a little while now, but since then, over time, you've seen those developments go on and fill in those cities, and that's why you're seeing such growth in cities like Temple and Georgetown. For the same reasons that you're seeing in Waco. The great thing about Waco is truly, if you look at the mile marker, whatever it is, it's like Austin 100, Dallas 100. I mean, we're
dead center
right in the middle
of the two.
That's right. So you kind of get the best of both worlds there. And so we're seeing that, and I think that's, that attributes to, or a lot of that growth is attributable to that location. Yeah. And then of course, lower cost of living and all of those items that factor into home prices.
Yeah. And we're seeing too, we've got clients. I mean, we again, a custom home builder, but we've also got clients that call and they say, hey, we found a fixer upper. Sure. Where you say, well, what's the fixer upper look like? Is it fixable? So we're seeing clients too within our office that they come in, they bought an old, 1920s, 30s Victorian style home. They want to fix it up. They want the farmhouse feel. Seems like that's kind of the Waco. So we're still, architectural design. We're still in the farmhouse look. And are you seeing, on your end, lots of investors still buying property in Waco because the rates and because of the value of here versus other places? Are you seeing lots of investment properties, residential, commercial? What's that look like?
It's like anything in the market that we talked about before. It's like at any point in time, there are good investments. You just have to know where to look. Sure. Sometimes that neighborhood will shift. Especially in Waco, it's familiar to everybody here that you can be driving on the same street
Yeah.
4 blocks away, and we're talking about a different neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with that though, we kind of in development and in investment, we consider that the path of growth. If this neighborhood is really developed, then within these certain number of blocks, well, maybe it's a little hard. That got super popular, and so maybe it's a little harder to get a good investment there. But 2 blocks outside of that circle, that expanding circle, that radius, then there are some really great opportunities. And then all that does is just expand that development and move that path of growth. And so, there are quite a few investment opportunities for somebody to get in and renovate and add some value, spread all across greater Waco.
Right.
It doesn't just serve Waco proper. Lorena, Hewitt, Woodway, China Spring, Robinson, there are opportunities everywhere. And so, there's always a steady flow. It's about paying attention to the market.
Yeah, and so it's not just downtown Waco. I mean, we're seeing it too. Lorena, even places like Troy, Temple.
Absolutely.
Temple's another really quick growing city. Infrastructure is, it's keeping up. Seeing lots of development there.
For sure.
I've got some buddies that are developers and mass production home builders, and they seem to not be able to keep up with the rate, and it's neat to see that from Waco. We had the Branch Davidians that Waco was known for that, and now you've got. I mean, it really is. It's a fun town. You've got lots of attraction to Magnolia. Obviously, you've got Baylor. We now have a single-story Topgolf.
That's right.
Got a Cinemark. We've got. So it's neat to see so much happening here. So many different. It's very diverse now. Baylor's growing. Again, I grew up on South 8th Street, which is downtown Waco, smack dab.
For sure.
2 blocks from the Magnolia silos.
Amazing.
And which is wild, because our house, gosh, when I was a kid, you couldn't have given 2 peanuts for it.
No.
Because Waco didn't have any value at that time.
Just wasn't.
And to see now that same piece of property, is the value and the worth of that property in the Waco market today is crazy.
And it goes back to that, if you can find a central point of development or attraction like the silos, it really is there's always this transition point where it's like so many Wacoans or people who've been here for 20 years, they want $300,000 for that house. I remember when I could have bought it for $30,000, which is a true story. But talking about value being the derivative of either the income or the development potential, or of course just the meeting of buyers and sellers in the market and wanting to be close to a major attraction like that. It's just the nature of the beast. So
it's crazy, and I know even firsthand. Gosh, I started the company in 2019. I dabbled into it in 2017, 2018, 2019. Those 2 years we were just kind of figuring it out. And in 2019 said, all right, we're gonna create a brand here in Waco. We're gonna do our best job to create a good brand that builds good homes and build good relationships. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, well, what's it cost to build a house in Waco? And I said, well, it's a loaded question. It's a very loaded question because in 2019, 5 years ago when I started the company, we could build a house for $150 a square foot.
For sure.
And today, it's well over $200 a square foot, and which is even again just putting that out there is scary because that could vary so much. But it just goes to show that it's not just real estate. It's the in general just the cost of living.
That's right.
It's the cost of materials. It's the subcontractors that we're working with. I think you're seeing that just across the board. That all these prices are increasing. And
there's always this adjustment and resistance to get familiar with what is a new normal at some point in time. It's always like, I know that you were in the business when plywood shot up. it was just like,
$65 a sheet.
Dude,
we went from 12 to 65.
At 12 to 65.
They went from 12 to 65 bucks.
What's really crazy is I had a source at that point in time who would just have excess plywood, and I have a big enclosed 16-foot enclosed trailer, and he had I'll make this story short, but he had 100 sheets, and I got them for $2 a piece.
That's crazy.
At the time. And then I remember
This is during the hype
this
of
is when it was starting to really peak. I got them before, but very shortly before. And then when it was starting to peak, then people were really looking for some, and I think I sold it for like $15 a sheet, which, hey,
it's like the natural, that was like the normal deal.
That's right. And I still did great on it.
$11-12 a sheet profit.
But then it was like 6 months later, really like, man, I could have taken a cruise.
It's like selling gold.
That's right, dude. That's right. I could have just driven my trailer around the sites and be like, what I got. But
$15 a sheet.
That's right. It's the adjustment to the new normal, but the hope is that incomes follow that trend.
That's exactly right.
And the income capability of both the individual families and if we're looking at a city like Waco, hopefully the income generating potential of the businesses and the tourism and the money coming in to Waco is enough to justify that. And there's always some balance and adjustment in there. Some jumping up, jumping down. Things are good deals. They get bought. That's kind of like the nature of arbitrage. But we just, as we do, if you know your market, just like you do, it's like you're honest, you're trustworthy, and you help your clients make the best decision.
Man, that's so good. Well, man, tell me a little bit about, so we just recently, and I don't know a ton about it, some of the new NAR changes that you're seeing. I know even clients asking us, and I don't know a ton, man, I would love to know a little bit about how that's kind of changed the real estate game.
For sure.
What's it look like in your office? Like, I know it's kind of made, you guys are now, maybe not necessarily a bad thing, but you've had to change the way you're doing things. So if we've got a client that's listening and wanting to build in the Waco area,
definitely
is needing a realtor, like what's that look like for them?
Definitely. And I think, not everybody loves a shakeup, right? I and the team at Haus, we see it as an opportunity. Let's talk a little bit about what got us here, and historically things just evolved over time, so that when buyers were buying real estate, it was commonplace for the seller to pay the listing, the seller's agent, the listing broker, commission, and that broker would split it with the buyer's agent.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so then there just became this question of, okay, well, if the buyer is not paying for their representation, then is it truly coming to is it fair to do that? Is it accurate, or is there some overpayment? Is there underpayment? And so recently there have been changes that say, okay, if a buyer is buying and getting professional representation, they should both know what that representation is, what it entails, and what it costs.
Gotcha.
Not that the entire paradigm has shifted where a seller will no longer pay a buyer's agent commission and buyers have to expect that they're going to have a greater cost. There's some of that.
Sure.
Right? But it's more about transparency, and I think that transparency benefits everyone. In my business, or at least at Haus, transparency is one of our main facets. It's a core belief, a core value of ours. And I like that side. So
being open and communicating very clearly.
That's right.
Yes.
And that's everything. That's everything about the process and why it is so. I will say, to a fault, sometimes I am a detail guy. I want to tell people, so I'm comfortable. I am only comfortable if I feel like you're comfortable and as much as you want to know.
Good.
You know what I mean? Or at least as much as I know.
And it only benefits everyone.
That's right.
Yes. More communication.
So the recent changes are that, where it was commonplace, common practice previously for sellers to pay for both realtors.
Yeah.
Now the buyer's agent commission is something that that by rule has to be open, transparent, negotiated in there. It's always been negotiable. Gotcha. And we have been negotiating these things for a long time. A lot of times when we're like trying to make a deal work and it's like, this is the best house for this family, we'll do those negotiations. It's part of the deal. Man. And so now it just makes it a little more transparent. And so it's about, what it really is about now is having a realtor who is well versed in the changes and how it impacts sellers, how it impacts buyers, and what that means.
Good. Yeah. So it sounds like it's really actually a more of a pro to the real estate market. If you're willing to be vulnerable, you're willing to really put things out on the table and be clear on expectations. And
I like it. I like it in the way that it creates opportunity. So I like anything that's going to increase transparency and knowledge in the market and knowledge with the buyers and sellers. I'm all for it. And second, I like when there's a shakeup. We are small, and we are agile, and some of the big machine, old school brokerages around are not as agile and nimble and able to adapt. And we can do that much quicker and better, again, in the interest of our clients. And we are recognizing that, our clients are recognizing that, and that's why Haus is growing at the pace that it is.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I think that, and it's at the end of the day, it's like, you guys are all, negotiating, being clear, but you have to feed your family, you have to create wealth for your company in order to keep the doors open and employ your people. And so I think it's important to just know going into a sale, like what's that look like?
That's right.
Everyone knows, and I know even from like with Vaughn Construction, realtors come to us very often and say, hey, I've got a client. They're moving into town. You and I have talked about this, and they come in and they say, are you interested in working with them? And often the question is, do you guys pay realtor fees? And our answer is yes. For sure. And I know even for some builders, they go, oh, as a builder, you pay a realtor fee, like what? At the end of the day, as a builder, we have to make a profit in order to keep our doors open, feed our families, and keep our employees employed. And it goes for the same thing as a realtor brings a client into us, to our office and says, hey, are you willing to renovate this home for this client and work with this client? And you should be paid for bringing that client to us as well. Because that is how you keep your doors open. It's how you feed your family. And so I think it's so important.
A lot of it is about making sure that everybody is adding value to the process. So, if it's a referral fee, I wouldn't expect that a plumber would send me a referral fee, or if they would, it would be a gift card to Target or something, right?
Or buy a new pair of shoes.
That's right.
If you know Cory,
that's on point.
Cory's funny and he has good shoes.
Thanks, man, dude. That's it. That's like, it should be our new tagline. So in that way, it's like what we do as realtors is we represent you in your transaction, whatever that transaction may be, from the start all the way, beyond the finish. Right. And we want to be your real estate expert in all things real estate. When somebody's building a house, they are generally consulting with you, and you guys are talking about the materials and the finish. They come to me and say, do you think that this material choice or this finish choice is going to add value, and if that value will be lasting, and if we wanted to sell in 5 or 10 years, are we getting our return on investment here and making those decisions, because that is our expertise. Right. So it's really about playing that role and being that guru, that expert.
There's a huge value to it. I know even as a builder, certain parts of the year we're looking to, we're a custom home building company, but at often times of the year we're looking for different pieces of land to possibly purchase for, a potential client later on in the field, or maybe we're going to build a spec home or whatever it is. And I know even just firsthand, we would never want to risk the idea of buying a piece of property without someone that's knowledgeable in that field. Because there's multiple things that go to. There's liens on the property, or there's or whatever it is, or there's easements that run through it, and we're skilled in building custom homes and renovations, and you guys are skilled in real estate, and you know real estate, and you know the things that go in with it, and so
and title and the interest and all of the things that go on that side, and buying and selling, and so it's representation according to our expertise.
Man. Well, man, if you had to give any advice to someone that's wanting to get into real estate, there where you were in 2007, what would be your advice? Not only to just a real estate agent, but someone going from real estate to starting their own brokerage. What advice would you give to them?
Man, I got a couple pieces. Number one, in a single word, it's hustle. You know what I mean? Now, what that means for everybody in your own brand is going to be a little different. You know what I mean? But as long as you are sticking with it and hustling, you will be successful. And then, of course, there's something to be said about consistency and persistence. But anybody that's coming into the field, it's like I have questions from new agents all the time. What does it take to be successful? And that truly is. It comes down to hustle and determination. If you are determined to be successful and you are willing to do the things that it takes, that extra mile, and set yourself up with a brand and a name, and be consistent with that, and act in the best interest of your clients, you will be successful. Something for any business. But this really resonates for real estate and realtors, is that they have to change their mindset from marketing as an expense to marketing as an investment. If you went from selling ice cream cones and you put out an advertisement in the paper or on TV or whatever, Facebook, you likely will be able to see whether or not that advertisement worked, because we sold 400 more ice cream cones today than before. Right? And it may not be daily, but you'll see some of that instant gratification. In real estate, and in a lot of businesses, it's like we have to try a bunch of different things, but it is a consistent investment, both time and money, and make sure you're being consistent and putting out the message. And you may not see, people always ask me, man, are those videos, do those videos work? Are they bringing you clients? And it's like, something is bringing me clients. Whether you
don't know where it's coming from. It's a big part of it. Right.
And so it is the brand side and the marketing side is an investment, and it's about being consistent, and it's about having people on your team that know that, they understand that, they believe in that. So we both use Content Cowboys. I mean, that's in and of itself the willingness and ability for us to bring on a team member like that who understands marketing and understands what exposure and what content gets that engagement. It makes a huge difference. And so I will also say, it's like, if something is not your forte, if marketing is not your forte, that's okay. You bring in experts where, Taylor, my forte is not organization.
Sure.
Okay. I'm not an organized individual. However, I put my team members in place so that you take care of that side, so I can focus on the skills that I do best. So I can focus on the tasks that I do best. And together we will grow a company.
Create a good brand. So I couldn't agree anymore. You're good at that one thing. And Cory's good at a lot of things.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks.
But and you find, what do you enjoy? For mine personally, I enjoy people. So it would be meeting with people, talking with people, hosting a podcast, or or just getting in and networking. And I believe that that's probably one of your strong suits too.
Most definitely.
Good with people, and you enjoy and you truly respect people's time, and you have the best interest for people, and Yes. And so, yeah, I think that it's a huge point. And well, how important do you think networking is within the within the community?
Yeah.
To real estate and just business in general.
For sure. So networking, it's funny. Like, of course, being seen and known. I mean, that's huge. I always tell new agents, I'm like, give me as many toothpaste brands that you can name right now. Do it right now. Let's do the practice. How many toothpaste brands can you name?
Colgate.
Okay.
Stride.
Okay.
Oh gosh, you can't.
That's okay. It doesn't matter how many.
But those are the those
are the
that's a good one.
Toothpaste companies that created top of mind awareness in your brain. Okay.
Right.
So when you go to the store or on Amazon or however you purchase your toothpaste, that top of mind awareness it makes that decision instant, right? It makes that decision. You don't have to. I doubt that when you go to HEB and you're getting toothpaste, you have to get on Google and do your research.
Sure.
Those companies have created top of mind awareness with you. And in the same way, I want people, when they hear Realtor, I want them to hear Haus Realty. Right? Cory Duncan, Haus Realty. So much that you've probably seen the little signs that say, my Realtor is Cory Duncan. It's like, well, that's kind of a weird thing to say on a site. Is the sign saying that? No, it's because people are seeing that thousands of times a day and just reading the words. My Realtor is Cory Duncan. My Realtor is Cory Duncan. And it goes over and over and over. And so in that same way, networking is being in front of people. I mean, it is a rare instance that you will catch me on out in the world, out in the jungle without my brand on, what I mean? And so that networking and making impressions and then when people get to talk to you face to face, they understand that you know what you're doing and that you are, you're an honest person and you act with integrity. And so it's about growing that network. So it's critical. It's another facet to any business, especially real estate, that is geared towards growth. And so it's huge.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, last question. Cool. If there were 2 books that you had to encourage someone to read, what would be if you're a reader, if you're not, that's okay. Two movies or quotes.
I'll be the first to say that I'm not a reader so much. Let's see. Man, I don't know that I am the right guy to ask.
Give me 2 quotes.
Here's my quandary here is that a lot of my books that I give to my agents, I don't know that I want my competition to know because they're really, really good. You know what I mean?
Well, that's good. Okay,
and those are the core books that I read. Man, that seems like I'm holding all the dice, but
no, that's great. I get it.
I am holding the cards. Okay? That's true.
That's great.
Let's go with two ideas that I think are crucial.
Give me 2 ideas. Yeah.
Number 1, I think that branding is so critical in business.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or you don't, my brand is consistent because it's me.
Yeah.
Okay? And maybe it takes a little bit of encouragement for me to be like, hey, Jordans or some sort of nice shoes, fashionable shoes are the brand. But eventually, when you're seeing the logo, you're seeing the Jordan, and it's just part of our brand and being open and kind of goofy or at least at least putting ourselves out there, part of our brand. And the thing we talked about earlier is like it's easy to be consistent when you're being yourself.
That's exactly right.
So you find who you are. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be goofy. You don't have to wear Jordans. You don't have to but whatever it is, you be consistent and you what's the right word? You harness your brand.
Right.
Who are you, and make sure that brand is communicated in your message.
I love it.
Right, consistently.
I love it.
And then the second message, the second idea truly is persistence.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. There have been so many times, especially in real estate and early in the market, because I've been on various sides of the market and various avenues into real estate, and throughout it all, the thing that is lasting and will never go away is that if you are persistent, and if you couple your integrity, your honesty, and your drive to do right by your clients and customers, if you stay persistent, you will succeed.
That's right.
Whatever that is.
That's right.
Be persistent, be consistent, and it will pay you back.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
Show up.
Just show up and be persistent, and it will come.
Yeah.
It will come. So that's the two that I have, man.
So good. Cory, where can people find you?
Man, all right. On Instagram, it is at hausrealty.co.
Yeah.
Online, it is hausrealty.co, www.hausrealty.co.
Yeah.
Haus Realty on Facebook. And hey, hit that personal line, 254-498-6695. It's always on.
It's always on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't turn it off.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever been in a situation where I tried to call Cory and Cory did not answer his phone.
Hey man,
very responsive.
It's part of it, and I'm there for him. So there for you, Taylor.
Anyways, give Cory a shout if you have any needs. But Cory's a great guy. I've known him for a long time, and so thankful for you.
I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate it.
It's always good, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.